So, you are going through divorce and have to split up your assets, and you are understandably confused as to where to begin and how to approach it. Well, I'm going to give you a top tip. I am Philip Kedge, the director of the brilliant McKenzie Friend UK network, your one-stop shop for all of your family court needs. And today I return as my alter ego, as the kick-ass McKenzie Friend. In my kick-ass vlogs, I give you practical hints and tips about the family court. But of course, nothing I say constitutes legal advice because you don't need rip-off and entirely pointless lawyers in the family court, and where all of my views and opinions are, well, of course they are, entirely my own. For a free 30-minute consultation with a trained and trusted McKenzie Friend, contact me today at contactphil.co.uk, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. So, down to business, and be aware that the family court will divide your assets according to needs and fairness, with the children of the relationship being the highest priority, which is why the money runs to the resident parent. So dads perhaps think long and hard before leaving the matrimonial home, before child arrangements and finances have been resolved. The court applies what is known as the Section 25 factors, and these are the factors the court has to consider when determining how your assets are split up. Now, in the vast majority of cases, the parties are arguing over the matrimonial home, often being the most significant assets. One or two pensions, maybe some savings, any liabilities, and whether there should be spousal maintenance or not. That, folks, is only 5 main considerations, and when you add up all of your assets, typically for an average family, it may be between £200,000 to £1 million. That isn't complicated. You can pretty much take into account each person's income and the needs of any children, and work out an approximate split using nothing more than, well, a calculator, pen, and a piece of paper. It therefore defies belief why people go running off to a rip-off and entirely pointless and all too often sick-in-the-head family court lawyer who will put a target on each of your backs to fleece you both out of around £20,000 to £30,000 each for the privilege of representing you, when they can't get you what you want and where there is no advantage to having a lawyer. Blimey, that is potentially £60,000 from the matrimonial pot, and often much, much more. How mad is that? So this is how I help my clients. I help them think in simple binary terms to help plot a pathway towards a sensible offer and possible resolution, starting with the matrimonial home. The first question I ask is whether the house needs to be sold, and in binary terms the answer is yes or no. Are there sufficient matrimonial assets of both of you to separate and rehouse with the children in appropriate and proportional houses? If you have 2 children, a 3-bedroom house is usually designed for the resident parent, usually the mummy, whilst for the non-resident parent, usually the father, a 2-bedroom house is usually considered appropriate where the children have a room each and dad sleeps in the lounge on a sofa bed. Now, if the answer is yes, that is doable, then you can start to consider an offer on that basis and then move on to consider the pensions, savings, liabilities and any spousal maintenance. If the answer is, on the other hand, no, both parties cannot be adequately rehoused, then there are 2 further questions to consider. The first question is, should the ownership of the house be transferred over to the resident parent? Perhaps the value of the house could be offset against a pension. Can the resident parent buy out the non-resident parent with a lump sum? If offset against the pension, the father typically has to then seek rental accommodation, as there is no available capital lump sum to put down a deposit on a new home. Question number 2. Can the resident parent, usually the mummy, live in the matrimonial home to support the children until the youngest child turns 18 or leaves full-time education? At which point the matrimonial home could then be sold and divided. And of course, if the father continues to contribute to the mortgage on an equal basis, then arguably the split when it is sold could be on a 50-50 basis, providing both parties with a considerable lump sum. Now, the second option is called a measure order and has pros and cons. The father again has to rent for potentially many years, but gets a lump sum back at the end of it. Again, if you can get a clear direction of what to do with a house, you can then move on to the other assets of pensions, savings, and what to do with liabilities and debts, and of course whether there can be a clean break or not. In conclusion then, give it a try. Start with a house and think in binary terms. Can the house be sold? Yes or no? Can the resident parent take ownership of the house and buy the non-resident parent out? Yes or no? Can the resident parent live in it with a delayed sale, known as a measure order? Yes or no? And lastly, do you really need to hand over £60,000 of those assets to rip off pointless family court lawyers? And to that, I would suggest that the answer is no. Now, at the McKenzie Friend UK network, our independent, trained and trusted McKenzie Friends can help you navigate through the family court for financial remedy at a fraction of the cost of those pointless rip-off lawyers. That's me done, folks. For all of your family court needs and for a free 30-minute call with a trained and trusted McKenzie Friend from the McKenzie Friend UK network, contact me right now at contactphil.co.uk. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay strong.